And we're back, guys, making another rice dish for you here at the Persian Test Kitchen. This is Reshteh polow, also noodle Persian rice, one of my favorites. We're going to start with Reshteh noodles, add some currants, Basmati rice, and we're going to do a potato tahdig. Let's get started. First, I like to rinse off the rice. You only do 1 or 2 times. And then you want to take your bowl and fill it full of fresh water. You want to use a fairly large bowl to hold that water. The rice is going to expand. You can let it sit for 24 hours, which I prefer, or you can do just 2 hours if you're in a rush. But I think the soaking of the rice is crucial. Just gotta let that sit aside for 2 hours or 24 hours. Once you're done, just dump out the water. You can re-rinse it. I don't. I like to keep the perfume of the rice fresh. I feel like the first rinse got all the dust or dirt, whatever might be left on there. Now I'm cutting some potatoes for my tahdig. These are about 1/4 of an inch thick. It's up to you how thick you want your tahdig. I like them 1/4 of an inch. You can do a little thinner, a little thicker, whatever you like. On the side table, I'm going to start off boiling some water, adding salt to my water. I use a nice good kosher salt, good amount of saltiness, I believe, from this type. Once you get that going, get your Reshteh noodles out. Your Reshteh noodles, the reason they're a little bit different than a regular Reshteh is you have to toast them. You do a nice dry toast in a pan, what I did for 4 or 5 minutes, get some color. Once that's going, hopefully your water's boiling. Get olive oil, dash in there, and get your rice poured in as well. As you know, we always use Basmati rice, the finest Persian rice here. Get that in there. You can see the boil kind of stopped. We're going to get going again, turn it up, make sure the boil comes back to a full boil. About 4 or 5 minutes, you'll get back to a good simmering boil like we are right here. And at that point, you can add your dry toasted Reshteh to the mix. Nice stir. Make sure nothing's sticking together. Looks like a nice little soft boil. Gonna add those noodles on top. There we go. Now remember, these Reshteh noodles, the difference between that and Ash Reshteh is these are toasted noodles. You can buy them pre-toasted. I've seen them in the store. But if you have plain noodles, you can just roast them yourself. Give it a quick stir once you pour them in there and get that lid back on. And you want to get to a soft boil, not a hard boil. You don't want to break up the rice kernels. And that's how you should look. And there you go. And it's going to take about 12 to 15 minutes, but it's mostly like touch and feel here. It's al dente. You can see the kernels up close right now. They're translucent, but not 100% translucent. There's still a little bit of white in the middle. Throw them in your colander, drain it off. Get some cold water. Try not to break up the noodles. I don't use my hand or any type of spoons. I just pour the water on top, getting the heat away from the rice kernel itself so it stops cooking. And this is the main difference between Persian rice versus other people's rice, the whole double boil method. Now in that pot, we want to throw down some oil to get our tahdig started. Now, it's up to you what you want to use. You can use butter. I use olive oil. Feel like it gives a good flavor but not overpowering. And in that you want to throw your potatoes down. Now like I said, you don't have to use potatoes. You can use lavash. You can just use rice. It's all the same from here. If you're using rice, just pour some of your rice down with the oil and top it off with some saffron. Because we have potatoes, we're going to make sure our potatoes are well placed on the bottom. You can leave a little bit of a gap here and there. And then spoon over some of that saffron water. If you're wondering how to make saffron water, I got a link right here that our previous video will show you how to do. It's a Persian staple, must know how to make a good saffron brew. There you go. Make sure you got a good 2 to 3 tablespoons of that saffron water down below, soaking into those potatoes. I'll get into the rice, give a beautiful perfume and smell. And at this point, I want to turn up the heat a little bit because it's potato tahdig. Regular tahdig is not necessary to do this step, but what I like to do is throw it to a medium high. This is actually medium high. It says medium, but it's pretty much a medium high. And here we go, some sizzle music for you. And the minute it starts sizzling, we can start topping off with that rice we just rinsed off. Alright, I hope you enjoy that music. So, now the sizzle's going on, we're just going to put our rice loosely on top. It's not necessary to pack it down. Remember, light, fluffy rice is Persian rice. not stuck together sticky rice. That's this other guy's rice. Here we go. We're just going to put it in small layers, and you can see that noodle to rice ratio is just perfect. The ingredient list is down below. I'll tell you how much I used. But just a great ratio. Some people like more, some people like less. I think this is a beautiful mixture of the two in this ratio. Once you get all the rice in there, just level it off for yourself and get ready for some delicious Reshteh polow. I like to poke 4 or 5 holes, about 90% down, to vent that rice so it's not mushy in the middle. And that's an old trick people used to use. At this point, you have a few options. You can drizzle olive oil or butter. I chose olive oil. We'll add some more butter on the end to retain that flavor. Throw a clean napkin to retain the moisture. I like to double layer those napkins. Put the lid on tight. And then we're going to put our rice up a bit to get the steam flowing. You'll see that in a moment. Alright, now we're going to melt down some butter for our currants. You don't need to get your pan this hot. Mine was just on for a minute too long. I'm going to melt the butter down to throw our currants in it so they absorb a little bit of that flavor and plump up. You can use oil if you wish to make this a vegan dish. It's totally up to you. Oil works fine. I would choose a good olive oil in this case. So my dry currants are being thrown in there. And guys, you can use raisins as well if you can't find currants. It's perfectly fine. A little bit different. They're a little bit sweeter, I believe. I'm throwing some saffron water on top of my currants. You're going to need some type of water to absorb in those dry currants or raisins if you wish. Why not saffron water, right? It's very Persian, very delicious, and adds a ton of flavor. Yep, there you go. They're just simmering away. You don't need to get too hot. Keep it at a low heat at this point so they simmer away. Now our whole objective is so they absorb that water to get a little bit plump and larger in texture and juicier. And there you go. We have a good reduction. It's ready to go. It's all done from here on out. Here, now we're steaming, so we know we gotta have to lower that heat to a low simmer. I'm trying to get you a good look here. I got it down to a low simmer just like that. Now, if you're making this vegan, you're going to want to skip this next step and just use olive oil or no oil at all. It's up to you. At this point, I'm going to add some saffron water as well on top. Just drizzle it on, about 2 or 3 tablespoons if you like for that flavor, and let it melt on with the butter. Alright, here we go. Here's a moment of, well, do or die at this point. We're going to do our flip. This is a little bit tricky if you haven't done it before. I would practice with a smaller pot. Make sure your handles aren't too hot. If they are, throw some oven mitts on. Make sure that you're not burning yourself. And bam. Whoa! Alright, slow motion for you. Look at that! Woo! Hope you guys enjoyed that as much as I did, and this is what the game is all about. Perfect Tahdig. A little bit scorched, just a little bit golden on the edge. You can see those noodles just popping out. Look at that. Crispy, inside's light and fluffy. I can't wait to dig in. But we're not over yet, guys. We still got to throw our currants on top of this. So the pan where the currants are at, you just got to scoop them on top, pile them in the middle on the side. But once you serve them, you got to throw and mix it into the noodles. Once again, you can use raisins. You don't have to use currants, or you can use none at all. No currants or raisins if you want to just do the noodles itself. I'm telling you guys, this is a great dish. It's got best of 2 worlds, noodles and rice. How could you not love it? I recommend you try it with some chicken or even beef, like meatballs. Persian meatballs. We'll make some soon here. And enjoy. And just take a look at the Tahdig. Wait, let's take another look at how great this Tahdig came out. Look at that. Side shot. Here's my plate getting ready. Woo! Look at the saffron in that potato. Enjoy, guys. Don't forget, click and subscribe. See you guys later.